Hello everyone, my name is Alan. I'm an architect and an illustrator based here in the Philippines. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the YouLan watercolors or the 5th generation watercolors by Paul Rubens. This set was sent to me by our friends from Paul Rubens, and this is called the YouLan watercolors or the 5th generation artist level paints from Paul Rubens. This has 24 half pans and is currently priced at $49.99 on Amazon. Remember in 2023 I reviewed a tube set from Paul Rubens, that's the 4th generation set, but now what we are having is the 5th generation, so it's a step higher. According to Paul Rubens, the Ulan series are finer as compared to the 4th generation, and the color matching is also more advanced and has a new color scheme. I also asked them if the Ulan series will also be available in tubes, and they confirmed yes, it will be available in tubes, and that is currently being worked on and could be out next year. Also, a 48 half pan set will follow this year. I believe everyone already knows the Paul Rubens brand, but for those who don't, and for the newbies, the Paul Rubens brand is under Shanghai Owen Art Materials, a company that makes a range of art materials based in China. It was established in 1998 and carries the brands Paul Rubens, Owen, and Gutsai. I have reviewed all these brands, and so far I am more than satisfied with the quality and the price they offer. What I forgot to ask them actually was why it is called Ulan. What does Ulan mean? But from what I know, it can mean two things. It could be the royalty, Ulan, or it could be the Chinese magnolia, or also called the jade orchid. But it's not orchid, it's actually magnolia. I actually have a selfie with that flower when I was in Japan earlier this year. But anyways, if you are interested about the Ulan paints, I'm putting all the useful links at the description box. Now let's do the unwrapping. As you can see, it is still sealed, and as early as now, I'm already having this beautiful impression of the paints because the box looks so unique. It's my first time to see a watercolor box with this design. It's so... how do I describe this? Yeah, I think it's very playful in a way, but still there's sort of an elegance in it because of the colors. So the box really feels dense and sturdy, and the black color is matte. We have here some gold designs, and of course we have here the logo, which is actually the eye of Paul Rubens. It says here 5th generation artist level solid watercolor pigments, and we have here some Chinese characters. It says here Rubens. So here it says Ulan 24 colors, and at the back we have here the technical description. We also have here the company information, and it's good that they also have here some reminders or some tips. Storage methods: solid watercolor paint should be protected from prolonged exposure to direct sunlight and moisture to prevent dissolution or deterioration of the pigment. And it's suitable for people over 8 years old, but here we have it's not for 0 to 3. And yes, we have an amount of information here, and we have some QR codes here, but let's now check our container inside. I'm so excited because, you know, Paul Rubens never fails in their presentation skills. So now here is our tin, and this is, you know, a branding Paul Rubens has always had in their metal sets. They have this cloth. I think this is same cloth that you use in wiping your spectacles or your sunnies or sunglasses, and I'm not sure what is this actually for. I'm sure it's not for wiping your containers or your brushes, but I think it's just an extra touch of, you know, classy feel. But yeah, it also I think will protect your tin from getting dents or scratches. So let's set that aside. So here is our tin that looks so beautiful. It looks so, I can't say it's very elegant, but you know, it looks exciting because it's so unique. Anyway, let's check out the other contents of the box. So we have here a catalog, and it says here watercolor, Paul Rubens watercolors, and the rest is in Chinese. I think this is the same company information that we find in their other products, other Shanghai Awin products. And here we have, I think this is the full range of the 5th generation. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times 6, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49. So we have 49 colors. So instead of 48, we have here 49 colors because we have 4 on this last row. That's interesting. I believe one of their lines also had 49 colors. But anyway, yeah, we have here some English text, but we're not going to be reading that now. Here is the swatch sheet, and it's shimmering. Can you see that? It's shimmering. The paper is special. It's shimmering. I'm not using shimmering papers, but yeah, I appreciate this. It's really attractive. But I hope you can see that there's, I think they put mica or glitters in their paper. And so in this we have the color code, the pigment information, and the color names. It's interesting that the pigment codes are actually even bigger than the color names. And now for the star of the show, we have here our tin, and it has a ring at the bottom. Now let's open it. And here are our 24 half pans. Now let's check out an individual pan. So here in front we have here the Paul Rubens logo. We have also here the color name. It says quinacridone rose, and the product code or the color code. And on this side we have here some information about the pigment. So we have here the color carrier, gum arabic, so that's the binder. We have here the pigment code, PV19, weather resistance, I think that's a lead fastness. So we have here 5 stars, so that's excellent. Transparency, fully transparent. So we have here enough information, all the information that we need. And we also have the Chinese characters counterpart of those information. And you can just easily push your pans out from the wrapper, and I suggest you save the wrapper in case you need those information again, and for you not to forget, you know, the colors or the names. You can also write the color names at the pans themselves so that, you know, you save the information. So this is Queen Rose. Apologies about my handwriting. By the way, this is a permanent marker. So we have that already. Oh, I would like to compare this against the other typical half pans that I have here. So here's one. I think they're almost the same size, but if you would look at the side, you'll see that the typical half pan is just a tiny bit taller. But yeah, it's tapered. This one is not so much. There's tapering, but not so obvious as the typical half pan. And also you'll see that the Ulan pans are a bit wider, so I hope you can see, but I think the contents are just, you know, the same. So let's remove the wrappers for the rest of our pans, and I would like to rearrange this a bit because I have a better sequencing for the colors. So let's go. So now we're done removing our wrappers, and we're setting these aside. And here now are our pans. As you can see, the pans got some tiny paint chips or stains, but that's okay. And now for our swatches and sample painting. As always, I'm using Arches 185 gold pressed cotton paper. And for my brushes, this time I'm using my Holbein mini resable brushes. So let's begin. Our first color is lemon yellow. It uses PY3 or Hansa yellow light, and this is the cool yellow of this set, and it's so vibrant, and I think it's semi-transparent. Next color we have cadmium yellow light. It's using PY35, which is the genuine cadmium yellow pigment, and this is as expected on the opaque side. Next we have here chromium yellow hue deep using PY65. PY65 is Hansa yellow deep, and this is the warm yellow of this set, and it's also vibrant. Next we have here Naples yellow using 3 pigments. We have PW6, PY53, and PBR24. PW6 is titanium white, PY53 is nickel titanate yellow, PBR24 is chrome titanate, and all of these pigments are on the opaque side, so I'm expecting this already that it's gonna be opaque. Next color is chromium orange using PO62 or benzimidazolone orange. I think this is an orange that leans closer to yellow, and it's semi-transparent. Our next color is cadmium red light using PR108, which is the genuine cadmium red pigment, and as expected this is so vibrant and intense, but it leans towards the opaque side, being a genuine cadmium pigment. Now we're done with the first row, and I'm happy to notice that as the swatches dry, they're becoming more transparent. And I must also say that the paints just activate instantly. So let's continue with the second row. Their version of Perylene Maroon is close to being like an alizarin crimson. I'm more used to seeing PR179 as a little bit browner than this, but I'm not complaining. Now, our next color is quinacridone rose, but honestly, I don't think this looks like quinacridone rose. It's a cool red, but not cool enough to be called a quinacridone rose. I think it's somewhere between quinacridone red and this alizarin crimson-like red. Yeah, but this is gonna be useful. Now, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I was expecting of a rose color. Their quinacridone maroon using PV42 is, just the magenta you need in this set. It's the perfect cool red for this set. And PV42 is quinacridone pink. So yeah, it's a magenta color. Slightly pinker than quinacridone rose, but yeah, this is a beautiful pigment. Next, we have here dioxazine violet using PV23, and I'm glad they called it dioxazine violet because that's what the pigment is, dioxazine violet. This is the carbazole violet of Daniel Smith. I think this is so intense, so deep, almost black in mass tone. Now, for their indigo, they used 2 pigments. They have here PB15:1, which is a phthalo blue-red shade, and PB66, which is synthetic indigo. And synthetic indigo is not so light fast, but it's not actually fugitive, I think. But I must say, this is a beautiful color. It reminds me so much of Payne's Gray bluish. Our last color in this row is French blue using PB29, and obviously it's ultramarine blue, and you can already see the slight hints of granulation there, and this is your usual warm ultramarine. Next color is Berlin blue, and it's using PB27, and we all know PB27 is Prussian blue. And Berlin was once the capital of the state Prussia, but anyway, Berlin blue is just so deep. I think this is a very deep version of Prussian blue. It's super dark. Now for their phthalo blue, it's PB15:3, and I think this is a typical version of phthalo blue, green shade. And yes, it's vibrant, and of course it's transparent. By the way, I think all the colors in our second row are on the transparent side. Now our next color is translucent turquoise using PB16, and PB16 is phthalocyanine turquoise. It's my all-time favorite cool blue pigment, and I'm just so happy to be finding that pigment in this set. And it's so deep. The mass tone is really deep. Next, we have here a color called Oriental Green. Interesting. It's using PG7, and we all know PG7 is phthalo green blue shade. And as well, this is a usual shade of phthalo green blue shade, cobalt turquoise dark, using PG26. For me, this is the most interesting color in this set because you don't usually find PG26 in sets like this. PG26 is an expensive pigment, and yes, it's a genuine cobalt pigment as well. And what I love about this color is that it granulates heavily, and it's so useful as well. It's a muted green, like sort of grayish viridian color. I just love it. It's so useful in landscape paintings. Next color we have here olive green dark using PO62 benzimidazolone orange and PG7 phthalo green blue shade. And you know what? This color is just so beautiful. It reminds me so much of the genuine Hooker's green color using PG8. Yes, it's like PG8, and PG8 is just one of the most beautiful greens, although it's not light fast. But anyway, I'm happy to be seeing this color here. Now next is May green using PY151, which is benzimidazolone yellow, and PG7 phthalo green blue shade. And you know me, I don't really like these shades of green, but yes, this is actually useful for botanical painters. Now next color is called earth yellow using PY42. I think this is their usual take on yellow ochre, and yes, it's on the opaque side as expected. Next color we have here burnt sienna using two pigments, PR101, which is synthetic red iron oxide, and PBK9, which is bone black or ivory black. I want to complain because they're using two pigments here, but I cannot because it's a beautiful version of burnt sienna. It's transparent and it's beautiful. Next we have here Venetian red using, of course, PR101 synthetic red iron oxide, and this is your usual Venetian red, and it's more on the opaque side as expected. Brown umber. This is an interesting color. It's a very deep grayish brown that leans towards the cooler side. It's using PB15 phthalo blue, PBR7, which is natural iron oxide, and PBK9 bone black. Yes, it's really a deep brown. Now for our final color, we have here ivory black using PBK9 or ivory black or bone black. And for me, this is your usual hue for ivory black PBK9. It's deep, and this is, I think, transparent. Now let's proceed to our sample painting, and for that I have chosen 5 colors. I have here lemon yellow, perylene maroon, I also have here olive green dark, ultramarine or French blue, and burnt sienna. And to save time, I'll be cutting the painting process into clips, and if you have any questions, please drop it at the comment box. So let's begin. Now I think our sample painting is dry. We can now remove our tape. And now for a closer look. Now for our review proper, let's begin with a color selection. So we have here 4 yellows, 4 reds, 4 blues, 4 greens, 4 earth colors, 2 blacks, an orange, and a purple. That is actually super balanced for me, in my opinion. And I cannot complain because we have, 4 versions of the primary colors. So that's more than enough for you to mix your colors. You can mix every color you want using this selection. But if I am to be more meticulous, here are my comments. Lemon yellow and cadmium yellow light almost look the same. I would be happier to have cadmium yellow medium or mid so that, it can be somewhere between this, because this looks, similar to lemon yellow. And also I would prefer to have a burnt umber or a sepia, because for me, this version of brown umber is too dark. And I would be happier if the PB66 is PB60 instead of PB66, because among all these pigments, it's the only one with fair light fastness. Every other pigments here are very good to excellent when it comes to light fastness. So yeah, that's my only complaint on the light fastness sector. I am also happy to say that from the 24 colors, 18 are single pigment, so that's 75%, that's high. That's gonna favor you in your color mixing. Now when it comes to color intensity, vibrancy, you can already see it that the colors are super alive, they're very vibrant. Paul Rubens, from student grade to the professional grade, when it comes to vibrancy, they ace it. Now for the transparency, at first, some colors were on the opaque side, some were semi-opaque, semi-transparent, but when they dried, most of them turned into semi-transparent and transparent. The only colors that remained opaque are, of course, the cadmiums, the cobalts, and those with white. And so those are cadmium yellow light, Naples yellow, cadmium red light, the cobalt turquoise dark, and also the earth yellow, because it's BY42, and the rest are on the transparent side. Now when it comes to movement, no, it doesn't move quickly, but also it doesn't stay. It's just in the middle, and for me that's okay. The colors lay beautifully on paper and they spread so evenly. I think that's very obvious in our swatches. And if you do not like granulating paints, these paints are for you, because even the granulating colors like PB29 and PG26, you can see that there is just very little hint of granulation in these supposedly granulating colors. I think Paul Rubens is right when they said in their ad that their pigments are finer now. They're really fine, you can see, and to the point that you don't almost see the granulation in PG26 and PB29. Some artists were saying that these paints are not good for layering, maybe because they lift too easily and they activate instantly, but still you can do layering here. I was able to do that in a sample painting, and for as long as you really dry your layers before doing another layer. And again, I'm really happy with my output here. I enjoyed using the paints. Now to see how well the paints adhere on paper, let's rub a sheet of napkin, and if we get marks on our paper, that can be a sign that these paints are chalky and obviously they're not adhering well on paper. So let's see. So we did not get any marks. So I think these paints aren't chalky and they are adhering well on paper. Now for our comparison portion, let's begin with a set of paints that are, in my opinion, less performing as compared to the YouLan 5th Gen watercolors by Paul Rubens. And by the way, this group is composed of some student grade paints, school grade paints, and some professional paints. So let's begin. For that, let's start with Simbalayon watercolors, Dong A Creative, also have Jovi Aquarela, Sterling Arts watercolors, Faber-Castell solid watercolors. Then we have Sakura Koi Pocket Field Sketchbox. We also have Reeves watercolors, the Giorgione watercolor cakes. Then we have the Magiwa Basics watercolors. We also have the Montmartre 2 Seasons, the Maris watercolors in pans, the Maris watercolors students in tubes, And we also have the Faber-Castell in tubes, the Pentel Watercolors Fine, the Art Ranger watercolors. We also have the Berkeley watercolors, the Pebeo Studio watercolors. We also have the Lefranc and Bourgeois Louvre watercolors. And we also have the Prang 2007 and 2019. We also have the Renaissance watercolors. Then we have the Pelikan transparent watercolors. We also have the Koh-i-Noor Anilinki Brilliant watercolors, the Gutsai Chinese painting pigments, the Owen watercolor cakes. Then we have the Owen watercolor cakes in metal case. Then we also have the Sakura matte watercolors, the Sakura koi in tubes. Then now we have Simi Art solid watercolors, the Miyahimi solid watercolors, the Pretty Excellent watercolors. Then we have the Superior foldable palette, the Superior fan palette. Then we have the Simi Arts Arch watercolors, the Medici Nano watercolors, the Superior watercolors. Then now we have the Milyang watercolors 52, Winsor & Newton China, Grumbacher Academy, the Brustro Artists watercolors, the Simi Art semi-dry watercolors, the Kuretake Gansai Tambi. Now we also have the Kiaomei watercolors, the Sonnet watercolors, the Winsor & Newton Kotman. Then we have the Van Gogh 12+3. But I really love Van Gogh as student grade paints. We also have the Lucas Aquarel 1862. Now we're entering the professional grades. Then we have the Prima Marketing Tropicals, the Mongyo Professional Watercolors, the Wichitrong Watercolors by Silpakorn from Thailand, the Maris Masters from Lightwish, Kokuyo Kamlin Camel Watercolors from India, the Viburnum Art Professional Watercolors, and finally the Españoleta Aquarela from Spain. Our next batch of paints are the paints that are, I think, very comparable to YouLan 5th Gen watercolors. They may not be the same when it comes to character, but my satisfaction is almost the same, whether because of price or performance. But I will try to discuss why. So let's begin with the first generation of Paul Rubens. These are the pans. They're the first Paul Rubens that I saw, so I assume they're the first generation. But yeah, it's obvious that the colors of the 5th gen are, much more alive, and they're just more popping than the first generation. And then the 4th generation, these are tube paints. So I don't know if it's just, human error, but I happen to have put more pigments here, so that could, be an issue in a judgment. And I think it's obvious. But anyway, the performance is very comparable, almost similar, but I feel that the colors from 5th gen are cleaner by a bit, not necessarily more vibrant, but yeah, I think they're cleaner and they're easier to handle. Some of the colors from the 4th gen are, tricky, but if you still have with you your 4th gen, don't need to buy the 5th gen yet. You finish your 4th gen and you upgrade with the 5th gen. Next is the Isaro Extra Fine watercolors. Physically, they look very comparable. I think the edge of Isaro is its appeal as, semi-handmade paints. Next is the Utrecht Artists watercolors. Vibrancy wise, they're almost the same, but what I like about the Utrecht paints is that the colors have character, and you can see the burnt umber, the cerulean, they're very granulating, and I personally love that. Now we have the Rembrandt Luxury Pocket Box. They're very comparable. I can say that the Rembrandt paints are a bit lighter and cleaner by application, and yeah, it has more granulating colors. Price wise, I would go for the 5th gen. They're almost on the same level. Next, we have here the White Nights watercolors from tubes. Again, these two are very comparable, clean swatches. So price-wise, they're also very comparable. So it just depends on what's available in your area, what's cheaper in your area, but they're almost the same. And finally, the Blocks Extra Fine watercolors. I think the blocks are a bit thicker and creamier, and the colors can be deeper, but my satisfaction is on the same level, and price wise I'd go for 5th gen. Our last set of paints are the professional grade paints that are, for me, better performing as compared to the YouLan 5th gen watercolors. So let's begin with the Holbein Botanical. Holbein in general are, I think, almost unmatched when it comes to vibrancy and saturation. They're one of the most striking colors out there, so I'm putting it better as compared to 5th gen for that aspect. You also have the Winsor & Newton Professional. Winsor & Newton is one of the most classic paints out there. They're very stable, reliable, and the colors are always clean. Next, we have Core Watercolors. The vibrancy and the flow of these paints are unmatched, and I think that is their edge over 5th gen. Now we have the Mijello Pure Pigment Set. I think also this is another set of paints that is unmatched when it comes to pigment selection, vibrancy, cleanliness of the color. So yeah, no words. And of course, we have here Schmincke Horadam Aquarelle. When it comes to texture, I think Schmincke is unmatched. Plus, the color range is getting bigger and bigger. They're adding more colors, they're adding more excitement to their range. So it's a plus for me for Schmincke. And finally, of course, Daniel Smith. So Daniel Smith is my, the basis of comparison when it comes to quality. I'm not saying that Daniel Smith is the #1 choice or the best brand out there, but it's just the brand that I have, been using for quite some time now as a professional artist. And yes, I'm putting it on top and better as compared to YouLan 5th gen watercolors. So now, if you are gonna ask me would I recommend the YouLan 5th gen watercolor paints by Paul Rubens, my answer is a definite yes. These paints, basing on its pigment selection and performance, I can say are professional grade paints. Colors are intense, they spread evenly, and above all, they're on the affordable side. I'm happy that the set has 23 out of 24 very good to excellent pigments, light fastness wise, so you can confidently use this to your paintings to be framed or for commissioned works. What I want now for Paul Rubens to do is to make the solo colors available. Open stock colors can help us replenish the colors we've already consumed. That way, us artists or consumers, can be more loyal because we won't anymore reach for other brands to fill our empty half pans. Another thing I'd like them to improve is the distribution of the products. I believe some countries don't still have access to Paul Rubens paints. I am not sure if the 5th generation is already the final generation. I hope it is so that the patrons could settle and be more familiarized with the colors. It can be a marketing thing, the way others add limited edition colors, granulated colors, shimmering colors. This could be Paul Rubens' way of, innovating their products. But for me, I think Paul Rubens is still in the place where they're reaching for the very near perfection. Well, we will always be eagerly waiting with excitement and anticipation. So to our friends from Paul Rubens, thank you so much for sending these beautiful paints for me to try. You never fail delivering quality products and gifting worthy items. Again, this has been Alan thanking you for watching and for reaching this far. If you are new to my channel, please don't forget to like and share this video. And also, if you're not subscribed yet, please do subscribe to show support to my channel. So that's it for today. Bye-bye.